I know most of you guys probably have already watched multiple reviews from other channels talking about and reviewing the new OLED Steam Deck, while I decided to spend a little bit more time and just using it a little bit longer than I probably would have for a more traditional review, just so I can really feel the difference between the two models of Steam Deck. I did a very similar thing when talking about the OLED Switch compared to the original Switch, things like that, so just to get a better feel of the device. Really live with it and go day to day with it to see if it's better in any way or if it's worse in any way. Really start to just learn the device. To begin with, we'll go over some of the new features. It has one of the most glaring differences between the two is the new 1280 by 800 HDR OLED display. It is 0.4 inches larger, coming up to a 7.4 inch total size. It has a 90 Hz refresh rate, which is really nice compared to the original Steam Deck's 60 Hz and standard bonded LCD display, which was not the worst I've ever seen by any means. It just wasn't particularly amazing. This new OLED screen, that HDR screen, is just phenomenal in terms of color, response times. It's just a beautiful display. The next difference is it has a more efficient 6nm APU. I know most of you probably don't get or care about the size of the die of the chip that is sort of the brain of the Steam Deck, but to put it in terms that you might understand, with a more efficient APU now on it, it does not necessarily inherently increase performance, but it does increase efficiency, which is what matters most a lot of times on these kinds of devices. Having increased efficiency allows this device to have a much better battery life. On top of it having, just in general, a more efficient APU allowing for longer battery life, it has a larger battery now at 50 watt hours, allowing for 3 to 12 hours of gameplay, depending on the game you play, compared to the original Steam Deck with 2 to 8 hours of gameplay depending on the game you play. It comes with the same 45 watt hour charger. It comes with the same carrying case, same everything, all the other stuff. The one nice thing is, since this new model has appeared, it has saw an increase in storage capacity across the lineup. The new base model Steam Deck comes with 256 gigs, the new mid-tier model has 512, and the new top-tier model has 1 terabyte, which puts it up against all the other devices out there today, like the Ally and the Legion Go, that come with, upwards of a terabyte of storage. The last thing that's probably the big difference maker that I'll talk about later in the video is having a newer and faster internet with Wi-Fi 6E. This Wi-Fi is so much faster than the old model. Not saying the old model was slow by any means, but holy cow, is this so much faster. But we'll get into that further on in the video. The last thing that really I'm going to talk about in terms of changes made with this new device, there are some nice red accents on the power button and on the fan grill on the back. They're not noticeable, but it's a nice dash of color. The analog sticks also have seen a improvement, which I thoroughly enjoyed. A slightly different design, but overall a much more comfortable for my thumbs experience to use. Now that I covered some of the main differences between this model and the old model, I'm going to go into more of the day-to-day usage of this device. In my experience, the usability of this device in terms of its new battery life has gone up dramatically. I saw myself going from roughly an hour and a half in a Halo Infinite to closer to 2.5 to 2 hours, depending on the map I'm playing and, if I'm doing like big team battle, which saw me really, playing this Steam Deck longer and in more variety of different places. I'm not saying that necessarily the battery life was a big problem before, not like I was nowhere near wall outlet or had a battery bank on hand. It was just nice not having to be tethered to a wall, having a little bit more security with the fact that if I go out in my living room, I don't have to come crawling back in an hour to go plug in my Steam Deck or sit somewhere I wasn't sitting before with an easy to access outlet. It's just overall a lot more convenient. It's not the best battery life out there on any of these handheld PC devices by far, but it is just a little bit nicer to have that just a tinge more security in terms of battery life. The new Wi-Fi chip that Valve put into this Steam Deck OLED model has been truly kind of insane to see the numbers I'm getting out of it. I am so impressed with the numbers I'm getting on downloads with this device. It is truly shocking. It's outperforming my main desktop PC that's plugged in via Ethernet, which is crazy to me. On my original model Steam Deck, I was getting roughly between 150 to 125 megabytes per second on my Wi-Fi. With this new Steam Deck OLED model with the new Wi-Fi 6E chip, I was able to get around 230 megabytes on average, and I saw as the lowest I ever got was like 190. So it's truly insane to see the kinds of download speeds on this device. My main desktop sat around 175 on average, so seeing this thing outperform my desktop computer that's plugged in via Ethernet, it's insane to me seeing these kinds of numbers. The speed in which I was able to migrate over and re-download a bunch of my games was truly insane in which the speed was. On my old model Steam Deck, when I download all my games, it took roughly, like, I would say 6 to 5 hours to download all my games. And this time, it took like 2.5, 3 hours to download all my games that I wanted to do all my testing with. So it was truly insane to see this increase in bandwidth and in terms of the actual raw download speeds of this device. I think that's a game changer. A lot of these other handheld PC devices I've tested, I wouldn't say have bad internet, but the Steam Deck OLED model by leaps and bounds outperforms what they're offering. And like I said, that's not to say that those are bad by any means. Even compared to the old Steam Deck, that wasn't horrible. My Switch has garbage internet. My fucking other, tablets and Android devices have fucking garbage internet. But for some reason, the Steam Deck OLED model was just so insane with this new custom Wi-Fi chip. It was amazing. Another day-to-day thing I noticed when using the Steam Deck OLED model, I started consuming more content more generally on my Steam Deck. I spent very little time on my original Steam Deck watching YouTube or Netflix or anything like that. Not to mention that it was just kind of a chore to, watch it on there anyways without any like official app like that on the Switch maybe. But with how beautiful the HDR OLED display was on this new model, I found myself watching Netflix, watching TV shows and YouTube videos on the Steam Deck just because it was such a nice visual experience. Especially late at night and I turned down that brightness so it's not so overwhelming. It was still a beautiful and vibrant display. The colors, the contrast were so nice. Another aspect of the new display that I thoroughly enjoyed was having the higher refresh rate. While not always attainable in a lot of the games you'd play on the Steam Deck, in the games that you do get that high of a FPS, it generally makes the whole experience feel a lot smoother. Even just navigating SteamOS felt better and smoother with the higher refresh rate screen. Not, like I said before though, it's not to diminish the previous model Steam Deck by any means, but 90 Hz versus 60 Hz, you definitely feel the difference. And comparing the two models side by side, you definitely it is noticeable, it is not a big difference, but it is still large enough that you're like, whoa, the 90 Hz just feels a lot better. I think that's why 90 Hz has sort of become more of a standard refresh rate you see on a lot of Android phones. Though I would have appreciated more focus on a variable refresh rate screen versus a higher refresh rate screen. Because sometimes I have some problems in certain games, especially when I'm in Windows, with screen tearing. It's just an unfortunate situation, and I think it might be down to either SteamOS needing more development, or some games just not playing nice with the Steam Deck in general. Now that I've finished talking about all of the day-to-day things that I noticed and I really appreciated about the Steam Deck, how does it stack up against the previous Steam Deck? Well, yes, this is a noticeable improvement across the board. one of the best iterative consoles, one of the best refreshes we've seen of all time. And I think the only other really good, console refresh I've seen that I liked this much was comparing the original DS to the DS Lite. Those were two very amazing refreshes that we've seen that truly doesn't happen often. I guess one of the other ones that come to mind is maybe the original Xbox 360 to the Xbox 360 Slim, maybe the PS2 to the PS2 Slim, but those didn't necessarily come with any serious quality of life improvements, and some of them even removed features. Like, for example, when you got the slimmer model of the PS3, you lost backwards compatibility. So, the fact that this Steam Deck OLED model, being a refresh, is as good as it is, I'm still so impressed by it. Though I do not see this as a necessary upgrade for those of you who have a Steam Deck already, or already have a handheld PC device already either. It does not offer in much of the way of more performance. It's just a nicer way to enjoy the current performance that we have. It's very similar to the OLED Switch in that sense, that it doesn't necessarily offer more performance, and it just offers the same performance in a nicer looking package. It's more refined. It is sort of crystallized in, like, this is the peak of the Steam Deck, This is the best version you're gonna get. And for those of you who don't have a Steam Deck already, or a handheld PC device, I would say this OLED Steam Deck is a great place to start. But even still, you have to pay an extra $150 over the base model to get that. And I just can't justify spending $150. What boils down to is an OLED screen, when they offer very similar performance and maybe some better internet and some better battery life, but that just isn't enough for me to spend an extra $150 over the base model. And not to mention that currently you can still buy the previous base model from before they shifted the whole product stack around for $350. So for an extra $200, you get the OLED Steam Deck, or save $200, get a 64 gig LCD model, replace the crappy eMMC storage with a 256 gig SSD for like $30 off of Amazon. You've saved yourself a lot of money, and you have a awesome gaming device now. So yes, I love the OLED Steam Deck, and it's perfect for newcomers, but it's sort of hard to recommend when they have the same thing fundamentally at a cheaper price, and it's just a tremendous value. But like I said, that does not diminish the fact that the Steam Deck OLED model is just so amazing. I love it to bits, and it's one of my favorite devices. So if I were to give it a score, which I've never done before, this is a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 device. The one caveat being that the other models still exist, and they're even a better value now than they were before. So what are your thoughts? Are you interested in getting an OLED model Steam Deck? Do you already own one and have just watched this video for fun? Are you gonna go buy the other model Steam Deck instead to save some money? And the extra features this one provides aren't necessarily worth it to you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, comments, and questions down below. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All that other social media garbage down below. I'm not very active, but hey, it's nice to get followers. And last but not least, have a wonderful day and Happy New Year.